say they need answers.
We're going through the list of police demands for police change. And we look at this newspaper, says poll most Americans want significant police reform. Says it's a hidden common ground. So America is unified on serious police reform. So we're going to go through the police demands, but before we get to that, I'm in McDonald's, and during this COVID-19, I'm doing my good, staying healthy. I got my mask and gloves, and I'm keeping my social distance. I found so many times, especially initially, that I had to explain this COVID-19, and we had to stay 6 feet apart because people keep jumping me in line. And that before they put the markers on the floor, it was one thing to say something. Now, after the markers are on the floor, you don't really have to say anything. But I'm in McDonald's. The markers are on the floor. And what do you say if 3 armed people come in and jump in front of you? So I'm in line at McDonald's and I'm jumped by these people. So anyway, with ordinary citizens, it's okay, but trying to tell police citizens what to do. And then if you look at this picture, you can also see other things like the 6 feet issue, as well as all the officers didn't have a mask on. And then that brings us to Chauvin and George Floyd, because you can see in that picture that none of those officers had masks on. But anyway, we're going to get to the newspaper and the demands. And so, in no particular order, they all are important. These ideas have been echoing for some years. Some of it goes back as far as Oscar Grant. It's time, but it's time now that we do something about it. Like I said, America's unified on it. Looking at the newspaper, we see in this poll that upwards of 80% of people think there should be de-escalation and racial bias training. Third on this list calls for mandatory training. Inside the article, they talk about police de-escalation also. The article also mentions limiting the scope of policing to serious and violent crimes, and that different forces could respond to domestic calls, mental health, and substance use calls. Everyone has said demilitarize the police. The majority of the people, and if you look at the newspaper poll, the majority of the people don't think that the police are treating people fairly. So again, America is unified on the issue of some serious police reform. Let's look at some more of the demands. And then the first thing, after people saw George Floyd murdered by the police, they said, get rid of the police. In pure capitalism, there wouldn't be any state-sponsored police. They would all be privatized police. Get rid of the police is an idea. Minnesota, when Chauvin killed Floyd, the city government put in plans to disband the police. It's an idea, and it's one of the most radical reform ideas. It's an idea, but it brings into question, what do you do about crime? So, I said that if we get rid of the police, we should use the police's initiative of trust. So what should we do about crime? We should trust. We could trust that people won't break the law, and disbanding the police is open for discussion, and as a modern advanced society should always remain on the table as an alternative. Next is some ideas that we all agree with. It says demands now. We won't take no for an answer. And this, like I said, Americans are unified on serious police reform, and these are things that we won't take no for an answer, and we all agree on. It says the police are not authorized use of deadly force. So that means no chokeholds, no death grips, no use of no use of the weapons that they have as a deadly force. Now, there's a sweeping police reform bill that was just passed, designed to address systematic racism, to curb police brutality, and to make accountability and training. This bill has passed. The newspaper obviously talks about the use of deadly force. The grassroots and the protests have spoke out against the use of deadly force and many of these other ideas for reform. And many police are in agreement with this also. Another idea is to defund the police and put money in other crime prevention programs. Other programs, alternative policing programs, other services. For instance, America has a drug problem. So instead of having the police and jail, there would be social workers in rehab. So you'd have police, then you'd have job counselors, and then small business programs for drug dealers, and then you have social workers and rehab and other types of programs for drug users. I think this, and that was just to defund the police. There are many different alternative policing and tactics that you could use when it comes to defunding the police and putting the money in other crime prevention programs, and that is something that needs to be done. The next one, of course, is since you're a police officer and you're trained and paid to uphold the laws, that it's a harsher penalty for official capacity people, and that police are official capacity. So harsher penalties for infractions because of official capacity. The next thing is the initiative of respect. Everyone must respect the written law, including the police. Respect. I would say an initiative should achieve the desired result, encompassing as many of the citizens as possible. Respect is something we all know how to use most efficiently as a group. Trust is good. It's an intimate word, and it's something many reserve for interpersonal relationships. Respect is the initiative that invokes qualities, rights, and traditions of people that we need for serious police reform. Given a choice, we can all trust, we can all respect. We can do both, of course, but in this initiative with policing, we are looking for serious reform for the police. Those that serve and protect need respect. Need respect for the citizens that they serve and protect. Those that serve and protect need respect for the law. They need respect for all, and we all need respect for the law. Sure, we can trust the written law. We need to respect the written law. The governor needs to respect the law. The president needs to respect the law. The city council needs to respect the law. Every citizen needs to respect the law. The police need to respect the law. Respect is the initiative. We all need respect for the law. Given a choice, we can all trust, we can all respect. Another thing on here is to end ticket and arrest quotas. And end and arrest quotas so police can stop harassing people. It's disingenuous approach to crime control when you're criminalizing people. His next says, if infractions, investigations put on leave without pay. Infractions and leave without pay. We've seen this begin to happen. So again, the people are unified on serious police reform. We want the police to stop criminalizing people. And we bring up ending racial profiling and the stop and frisk, no more suspicious stops. These suspicious stops are criminalizing people. The culture of policing, we're not all criminals. Crime is not a part of life. The police interact with the worst people in society and it rubs off on them. They have an antipathy for people, and at the same time, they are picking up some of those mores, language, and manners of the worst criminal element that they're interacting with all the time. So we're talking about changing the police culture. A police officer should be working so that they don't have anything to do. So there's a list of demands. Some over here, some more that have come out. The use of rubber bullets. They talked about different policing. Traffic police being unarmed. So either they're unarmed as in it's in their patrol car, or they don't have one at all. Traffic stops, it says traffic police are for traffic. They're unarmed, and then there are regular police. Traffic stops, there are no need for weapons. For example, parking people have given out tickets without weapons all the time. Many other traffic stops will not end with death, as we've seen. So there's some other things on there. And Black Lives Matter and other organizations and police groups officials, they have this meme. They also have a typed list of the demands, and they've just been put out all around. Republicans in Congress have passed a bill. America is unified on police reform. Of course, we need to go a bit further with some more legislation. We need to work with Congress. We need to talk to our local municipalities and civilian groups. But nobody likes crime. So we must put in radical reform, practical reform, and a lot of reform for the police for better communities in this country.
The judicial system and the police are like a failing business. The profit for this business is reduction of crime. The profit is reduction of crime to the extinguishment of crime. With crime being so high in America, the police are not meeting their bottom line. They're a failing business. The desired outcome is for crime to be down and the prison population down. In the past, police arrested people, overcrowding prisons and jails, making mass incarceration. It became too costly, it violated the accused's judicial rights, and it didn't work. It didn't drop crime. The goal and objective is to have the prison population down and at the same time have crime down. By design, the police can arrest and jail people. It doesn't meet the production and sale goals. It wouldn't achieve the desired result. The police by design can achieve this noble goal. It's a goal that must be achieved by building other social programs. The police have been given militarized tactical force. Now they need a social tactical force. The war on drugs to stop crack turns into more drugs, and it didn't stop crack. After the war on drugs, maybe it should have been a war against drugs or called the war to stop drugs. The war on drugs was a war that left more people just that, on drugs. It didn't stop crack. Then meth came, heroin, prescription pill abuse, Xanax and Percocet, other opiates, the abuse of illicit pills, Molly and ecstasies, other drugs, syrup, promethazine, lean, K2, fentanyl, Tide Pods, air guns, glue, PCP. There are more drugs since the war on drugs, not less. It should be less drugs when you put that much money, labor, and equipment at something. It should be less drugs if there was a war to fight drugs. If you take your car to the mechanic, you expect him to fix it, not damage it more. That mechanic will be out of business. You go in for routine maintenance and it turns into oil, power steering fluid, antifreeze, and brake fluid spilling everywhere. The car is stuck on the side of the road. This is a business that's failing. It's a business that doesn't have the proper models. It's an archaic and ineffective structure. A racist model for sure is not the proper success model for policing. Its policy and procedures aren't working. None of these past methods have worked. There is still crime at high levels. A business like the official police business we see now would definitely have to change its practices for customer service or it risks losing its customer base and going out of business. There will be going out of business signs on police stations everywhere. It's a company that would be restructured. It would come under new management. It would be dissolved, its assets sold off at auction. One thing's for sure is that we have to make some changes in policing. It couldn't be business as usual. It couldn't be business as usual. Here are the demands for police change.